West side, west side, west side. To live and die in LA, where everybody try to fatten their pockets. So many hustle for the cash, so it's hard to
Let's give him the rolling thing.
We on live, brother.
I guess we're on the air. God bless your community family, and welcome to Gang Talk with Skipp Townsend, Sister Herron. We're here again live this week in a very unique scenario because I actually had intended to interview our co-host last week, but he surprised me bringing Alex Alonso, and I was so thrilled because I've known Alex for quite a while, know how committed he is to what he does, and had been wanting to get him on the show. And so Skip surprised me by getting him here last week, and I just want to thank you for that.
No problem, Sister Herron. As always, I always give honor and praise to God, and I'm grateful to be here, grateful to be the co-host. Alex told me not to say certain things while he was on the show. Well, he's not here now, and I can say that he comes from my community.
Okay.
And, and he doesn't want a lot of people to know that because of his degrees that he got from USC, and he's looked at as a scholar. And if they know, I believe, in his opinion, I can't speak for him, but I think that he believes that if they know that he came from the same environment that he's doing research on, that it would stop his credibility. And I keep telling him, no, that enhances your credibility because it takes one to know one, and you used to be one. And
that's the part that's respected.
Right.
See, you have to kind of know the inside before you can come in and talk about anything to anybody over here.
And everybody who he runs into, I have to go behind him and tell them that, no, he comes from the community. Because they say, man, who is this dude? Who is this? I mean, because he's so passionate about his work. He sounds like a square. He has a PhD now, so he's, he used big words and stuff. So,
well,
but I have to tell him, no, matter of fact, he lives on the same block that he lived on when he was 14. He's raising his children in the same neighborhood.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with the community. It's a very nice community, even though it's being gentrified like so many of our neighborhoods now. And that's one of the things that I want to discuss with you, because the plan tonight really was to interview Skip. And because we haven't talked in a while, we've been pushing this since we started here in January last year. And just try to bring the best of the community that we had to bring. But a lot of times, Skip and I don't get to discuss the real details that matter to us. And one of them, the most important thing, is homicides.
Right.
So I wanted to cover issues like that with you tonight. But we have another surprise, bless his heart. And I just adore this young man. And I like to adopt them, so go ahead and introduce yourself, son.
My name is Kawisi Neblett.
Yes. Yeah. And you've been here before a few times. You were with us on radio as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so it's a great joy to have you join us again, because he's in that age range where we really need to reach out to them, because they're the power over the generation following them, and we want to be sure that he has the right spirit, that his spirit is not being jeopardized by the generation that was before him, things like that. So it's very important to meet all of our generations in this conversation, So we're real clear about where we're going. So,
Sister, I have to ask you a question. You have something in front of you.
Yeah.
And if I could see it clearly, what does that say, Sister?
That says, let me put my glasses on so I can.
I think you know what it says with your glasses on.
I know. I can read that. That says MD 2020.
And there's medical doctor 2020. What is that?
No, that stands for Mad Dog.
Mad Dog.
Red grape wine. Anybody that has lived in this community knows what Mad Dog 2020 is. So,
Sister, I don't know what Mad Dog 2020 is. If you could share with me what Mad Dog 2020 is.
Well, I think before we went on the air, you were sharing with us about your history with the Mad Dog, okay? And the other thing we have, too, we brought these. Now, all of you in the know what these are.
What are those, Sister?
These are Swisher Sweets, okay? And I went out looking for a very specific purpose because I said, last week, a week before last, that we was going to spill the wine and raise blunts for all the homies that have died in this nightmare.
Sister, what do you know about Mad Dog 2020 and Swisher Sweets? Please tell me. I really want to know. But you brought Mad Dog 2020, MD 2020. Turn that around so I can see that. Mad Dog 2020, and you have Swisher Sweets there.
Yes, I do.
Sister, what do you know about that?
Well, Mad Dog I'm familiar with. Never drunk it. But it is a gift I bought for one of our children at their 21st birthday. Okay?
Right. So,
and because it has a screw top,
uh-huh.
I advise them not to open it. Okay? And so it's just part of our history. As I said, if you in the know.
Is that history of black people or
Yes,
history
sir.
of your family?
It's a history of my community family. Okay?
Right.
My dad didn't even drink coffee, so I'm going to leave him out of this conversation. He didn't smoke nothing. He didn't even drink coffee. So I wasn't familiar with this. I was familiar with Manischewitz. Okay.
Can I shout out a liquor store real quick? There's a liquor store on 48th and 9th Avenue, and I want to give a shout out to Mr. Petey, Mr. Curtis, T, and all those guys, because I was 16 years old when they introduced me to Mad Dog 2020. And I knew then that's how I found out what Earl was. I didn't know what Earl was.
Yeah.
And I started calling for Earl because I had too much Mad Dog 2020.
Yeah.
So just a shout out to that liquor store on 48th and 9th Ave. And
Yes.
Mr. Petey and Mr. Curtis and T and all them older guys who thought it was funny to get me drunk.
Okay. Well, shout out to the bodega I bought the Mad Dog from that also still sells Silver Satin and Night Train.
All right.
Night Train. It's like, are you serious? They still, the only thing they didn't have was Santa Fe.
Huh?
Santa Fe.
I'm
Santa
not
Fe is
familiar
your
with Santa Fe.
grandfather's drink.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I don't know about Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Oh, but let me ask, brother, what were they drinking back? Where you from? Kentucky?
Oh, moonshine.
Moonshine. Oh,
yeah.
they put the hair on your chest.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and take it off too.
Take it off too. Yeah.
Moonshine, put the hair on your chest and take it off.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, moonshine was the thing for us back home. So
Did you drink any of that?
I had a cap when I was a kid.
A cap.
Yeah,
I was
listen. No, that is so important.
I had a cap.
There's a truck driver, the Coleman family, they daddy, brought me a cap,
That's
a
all you had?
moonshine.
Yeah.
And he said, just drink a little bit of this. It was a cap.
A cap.
And it
Cleared
did
up
exactly
your-
what you
cleared your
said.
sinus
It
and
cleared up
everything.
my sinus. It
Cold.
made me do
Warm.
everything. And I told him I would never drink anything he gave me again.
Oh,
It felt like gasoline.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
It is.
It's
It
pure
is.
ethanol.
Yeah.
It's the same thing you put in your car. They just put cleaner in it.
Oh no, I'm cool.
Cleaner.
Yeah, they just put an engine cleaner in it and gas cleaner in it. But ethanol is the main ingredient for gasoline.
Wow. I know
Well,
ethanol.
who want to drink that?
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Actually, any alcohol, like when you think of full grain alcohol, it still has ethanol in it. What it is, they just water it down.
Mm-hmm.
So first you have to get pure alcohol, almost pure. I'll say between 95 to 99%, and that's what you get moonshine with. Well, 190, 95%. So then you put water in it and bring it down to
Like
to
151, like that drink they call it
Right.
151.
Yeah, Everclear.
Hey, so for those people who are my age, do y'all know what we used to do with that 151? Used to pour a little bit of it on some cotton,
Yeah,
light
light
it
it.
up, and then rock up a quarter piece. Go out there and sell it and make your money and come back. So we always had to have cotton and 151.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
So vodka is watered down moonshine,
Wow.
and whiskey is aged moonshine.
Well, vodka's from potatoes.
Well,
You said vodka?
Yeah, but it's still the same process.
I know, because see, when you were talking about the alcohol, I remember the days before NASCAR.
It's fermented.
That it was they were using corn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it does have a
Vodka
history.
can be from anything. Honestly, you can
And
make
look-
vodka out of anything. You can make all the liquors out of anything.
Jack
Hey, look, I
Daniels.
learned that in jail, in the penitentiary.
Yeah.
So I got a buddy named, I might as well say his name because he out of pen now. Rabbit used to make that white lightning. He would
Yeah.
take the alcohol.
Yeah.
He would take the alcohol right out the deodorant.
Out the-
And he would take it out the deodorant. It would drip for about 3-4 days, and he said that's pure alcohol.
That's pure alcohol.
That's the ethanol in deodorant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Obviously, and I'm not here to discuss the will and the way. I just know that before Jack Daniels was Jack Daniels, they were bootleggers. Okay, so we just have that history of alcohol in this country.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be illegal, so
right. That's how the Kennedys made their money, right?
Yes, sir.
Alcohol was the
Joseph Kennedy Sr.
It was the reason why people went west. A lot of people went west, and that's how the money traveled through the alcohol. And then, of course, Jack Daniels was actually the recipe, and the person who taught Jack Daniels the liquor was actually a black man. He was a slave.
It doesn't surprise me.
Well, they call him a slave, but he was either freed or he was indentured servant to Jack Daniels. But yeah, he's the one he taught him how to make the whiskey. Yeah.
Wow.
That doesn't surprise me. The pastor that was here, and I'm so sorry, Lawson, Reverend Lawson was here, talked about how the slave used to be the most skilled worker in the country at that time. We had to know how to do everything, and we had to be expert at it.
That's where the unions came from.
Yeah. Yes.
That's where what came from?
The
unions.
Unions came because when the slaves were free, you had all these black men with all these skill sets.
All these
and
skills.
you had the Irish, you had the Scottish, you have all these people in the Union states. They didn't have the same skills. So they had to try to keep the free black men out, so they created a union so they can keep their jobs.
Right.
So when they did that, they messed around and they decreased the union because they wanted to keep us out, but then turn around and then yet they say, well, you got a union, you want higher pay. These guys are not union; they want lower pay.
Right.
So they messed around and still couldn't get the jobs. So the unions had to.
And do you know that's where a
had to do a lot
massacre
of lobbying.
came from in St. Louis? St. Louis had a massacre. I think it was 1926 or something like that, because they were shooting black people. So that's why it really upsets me when President Obama stated that Florida nightclub shooting was the worst mass shooting in the United States history, when there were other shootings, and it was the unions who were actually shooting the black people who were working on those job sites.
Right.
And too, when you add in the kids killed in that massacre in, I want to say hometown, that's not it. The children, elementary school children that was killed
about like Pennsylvania, whatnot?
Yes, upstate, back east. That was horrific, if not even more horrific than the nightclub shooting. And you can't leave out those that were killed in that theater in Aurora, Colorado. So there have been mass killings that have just been a phenomena to this country. And folks act like, oh, we don't do that kind of stuff. Yes, you do.
Listen, so is that the reason why so many of my people drink Mad Dog 2020?
Okay.
Because,
the one thing we don't do is go shoot up a school campus. We don't go shoot up nightclubs.
But how do we deal with our
theaters.
trauma? How do we deal with the fact that what he stated was that we were the ones who created everything, and now we're the ones who are getting the bottom end? So what do? We smoke and we drink.
We smoke and we drink and we anesthetize ourselves any way we can. Anesthetize, that means to soothe whatever it is that's bothering me. I'm going to find another way to deal with it, whether I drink my way through it, whether I smoke blunts through it, or whether I eat my way through it. We're going to find a way. And if not Mad Dog, it'll be Jack Daniels.
Right.
But we're going to find a way. It's a coping mechanism.
Right.
Coping. That's really what it is. So Mad Dog is our coping.
What you going to do when the show is over with that bottle, sister?
I'm going to take it back home and put it back on the shelf, okay? Next to the Night Train and the Silver Satin. It's like, this is history. And I swear for you little youngins don't know, I was trying to find Ripple, too.
Right, Ripple.
That was Red Fox's drink, was Ripple.
That's my partner out of Inglewood, Ripple.
Okay, his name is Ripple, but they actually used to have a screw top wine called Ripple in a little small bottle like that, Short Dog.
Right.
And we used to, on the weekend, where's the Ripple?
Yeah. They taught me that at the liquor store on 49th and 9th Ave. They taught me we're going to bail Shorty out. And I used to say, what is that? They say, man, just put some money up. We could bail Shorty out. And they would go on the stove. And they would get Shorty out the stove. They'd get a Short Dog. And we'd all take a sip out the Short Dog, man.
Yeah,
my people's taught me how to drink at an early age.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know what? for a lot of us, that was the only release we had.
Right.
You know, and I had a dear uncle, God bless him. I loved him dearly. He was such a sweet man, but he was a full-time alcoholic.
Right.
Full-time, every day, all day, nothing else for him to do. Once he lost that one job he had that took care of his family, and because of that, losing that job at that time, he couldn't get reemployed.
Right.
And at the time, he had 6 kids. His wife was working in their kitchens and their homes, taking care of their kids, and he's out here doing whatever humble work he can get until he lost that job. And once he lost that job, he just climbed in the bottle and stayed there. You know, so
Gil Scott Herron said that old man, he's living in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that song? He said, I'm gonna look for the words of that, but he had a song about the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Poetess, you got that song? Gil Scott, The Bottle. See if you can find it.
Yeah.
If you could find that song, we could take a break when Marcus comes and we could do a little bit of The Bottle.
Okay.
And let's see if we'll just take a sip. You don't want to take a sip at the break time just to see?
I'm good.
You want to go down memory lane. That's what you trying to do. And look, if you're going to sip it, I'll sip it too.
See, that's what I'm talking about. See, I ain't had to twist her arm or nothing.
No.
It wasn't even peer pressure.
This is for the homies, okay?
No pressure in it.
Right.
What does it take for the homies, okay? I have no problem in doing what it takes for the homies. So if it means drinking the Mad Dog, I'll drink the Mad Dog. If it means not just holding this, but lighting it too.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. But
okay, because I got matches. Well, you know, that's what they worry about. Oh, that chick over there, she got matches. Y'all need to watch her. And I really appreciate that, because I wanted to talk to you about that officer that chased those killers into my neighborhood, 3 of them.
Right.
Witches them killing a young man and chased him into my neighborhood. And bless his heart and good fortune for them, he arrested all 3 of them, didn't shoot not one.
I'm sure not only is the family of the young man H from who was murdered that day, not only I'm sure is his family okay with the fact that they're in custody, but I'm sure their mothers and fathers, their family is okay with the fact that, you know what, you did something wrong, you got caught, and you're going to prison for it, but you're not dead.
You're not dead.
17, 20, maybe 25 years from now, you'll have the opportunity to get it right. Or, you know, God forbid, you might die in prison, but at least you have the opportunity to live.
Yeah, you have an opportunity. Your family can come see you. You can write letters. You can get phone calls. That person you killed is over for them. And their family has a right to be angry with you.
Yes.
Yeah, they really do. And that's the sad reality that we're trying to get our young people to understand. Once you take that life, you forfeit your own.
Yes.
You have to really understand that. Once you pull that trigger, you have just pulled it on yourself.
Yes.
Really. Like she said, you turn into the walking dead.
Right.
You don't even know you're dead.
Right.
You're just walking around. And so our whole thing is if you take a life, you don't have a right to stay in our community for the opportunity to do it again.
Right.
That's the bottom line. And we're living that now. That's the joy of turning this corner. Because the other thing I wanted to mention, you saw the Times article yesterday.
Oh, and it talked about the homicides being as low as they've been in over 51 years.
Yes.
And there's a lot of credit being given to LAPD. And, they mentioned that intervention was,
I thought that was the most mentioned about intervention I've ever heard from them.
That was a small portion.
I know, but that's the first time they ever looked our way and gave us a nod for any of this work.
Yeah,
and for me, that's a big step from going to completely ignoring what men like you do, Taco, Twin, the men that are actually out in the street making the peace. You're doing the work, but they ignore you and want to say, oh, well, we did it. Law enforcement, we're controlling it. No, you haven't. These men have put themselves on the line, made themselves present in those communities to become peacemakers at the risk of themselves. And to ignore them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And we're never going to let LAPD take credit for the change that's coming our way.
But they are, sister.
I don't care. They can they're talking to the rest of the city that doesn't know any better. They can't come tell that lie in our face. Right. That won't work at a meeting at South Bureau for them to come and say, look what we did for you.
But we're not writing the checks, though. So they talk to the people who are writing the checks. They talk to the California Wellness, and they document and bring up their data. They also talk to the other organizations and philanthropies that are giving money, So they tell their story. And something I did not know till today is that the data collected by the grid office from all the grid workers that we thought, are jeopardizing our clients, and we don't want to give you this information because you're giving it to the police. Well, that information from the grid office is kept in the grid office, and it's not public record. Okay. So what happens is when they get to go through LAPD's numbers and get to see the drop, LAPD gets to take credit for it. The grid office can't because none of their data is public. So everything that we do, like if I take a gun from Kawisi and all this and that, I'm not going to say his name, but in the report I'm going to say one of the community members was attempting to hurt another one, had a weapon, I took it from him, and I won't say no names or whatever, but that isn't made public.
Right. Well, that's why we're here. That's, that's one of the
public.
Reasons why Gang Talk has to be on the air, because we have to speak to both sides.
Theirs
of it.
is public. But LAPD makes it public. Every time they make an arrest, the only time it's not public is when it's an officer-involved shooting. But when they catch a shooter or catch a gun or make an arrest, immediately it's made public. Yeah. And if it's big enough, there's a press conference.
Always, but at the same time.
Sounds about right.
At the same time, they have all the money.
Yeah,
they have all the money.
It's $1.3 billion per year.
And biggest budget in the city.
Yeah.
So this is our taxpayer money, as they remind me, we work for you. Do you now? Really? Well, I'm fixing to call on my nickel investment and get something from you. Are you ready to give it? You see, so we are always having to check them. The rest of the city can sit all calm and peaceful. Our whole thing is, look, if you have trained in South Bureau, you can handle the whole city. Nobody cares. The question is, can you be effective in my neighborhood? And that's the test that's happening right now. It's happening right now. We had another change in the leadership in South Bureau on the heels of those 4 shootings and our last chief leaving last summer.
Right.
Yeah. In 3 months, they killed 4 young men, all under 21. I've said that repeatedly. And the reality for us, there was no conversation, there was no community meeting, there was no explanation to the families, no explanation, no communication with us at all. Just, well, they had guns, they're dead. So you became judge, juror, and executioner in that moment, and nobody gets to ask you why.
Right.
And if they ask you why, you're just not going to answer them.
So do you know who I say we go to about that? I say we go to the top cop in L.A. County.
L.A. County?
The top cop in L.A. County.
Well, who are you talking about?
Jackie Lacey. She is responsible because they have to answer to her, or she will put them in jail.
I'm sorry, Jackie.
She should be putting them in jail.
She's not going to. But
she comes from the community.
I know
from
she
Dorsey
does,
High School and all that. Why isn't she putting them in jail?
She's not. And the truth is, I don't really want to talk about Jackie because she's not the only detriment to my community. She has not been very effective as far as our community is concerned. Like President Obama, a lot of us feel like she hasn't given us even close to what we expected from her. So I leave her alone because she's in that office. Traditionally, that office has not been a benefit for my community. So they're either going to work for us or historically work against us like they have. So Jackie's kind of in that neutral. She's in Switzerland right now for me. It's like, hey.
The spirit that she entered into that position with.
That's how she got her vote.
She came to cease fire.
Yes.
She came to gang talk.
Yes.
Or she was on the phone. Or she
on
came
the phone. She was supposed to come, and then it turned into a phone call.
Right. So, yeah, the spirit of tricking your people and not really being for your people.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to leave her out of it because, first of all, she's the first woman. And she's the first African American to hold that job. So a lot of us put our hope in that basket the same way we put it in Barack Obama's basket. But the truth is, we didn't vote either one of them into office. Other folks did. Other people did. So that's a reality we have to accept in those elections.
Right.
She didn't just appeal to our community. She appealed to theirs, too. They voted her into office, not us.
But we also have to look into the idea that they're in a system, in their system. So
their system.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you put in. It's like the military. No matter who is in charge, it's a system in place in the chain of command in a, how would you say, company synergy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also, you have the how would you say it, the company culture.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the culture of whatever organization she steps into, she has to blend into their culture, or it's no different than your body. If you have a cold, your body's going to fight it because it's not normal for your body to be sick.
Well, she didn't come from the outside and run for that job. She's been working in that culture for her whole career.
She did, but see, you have to understand, it's a difference between a culture of leadership and a culture of servitude. So she was a servant then at time, so therefore she was able to do different things and all that. But when she becomes a leader, there's a different expectation.
Well, yeah.
So for her, I mean, I don't know her specifically. However, I've seen it where you have someone who's gung ho for you, and then soon they step into another position, and you thinking it's all good because that person's the top dog. Got to remember that top dog may be the top dog in the uniform, but they still have to answer to a suit. Well, so it makes a big difference.
I hear all that, I understand all that, but in the meantime, if it ain't helping us on this level,
I agree.
I don't care about it. If it ain't doing something to help us on this level, let them stay over there, mind their business. Just don't come in here acting like you're a part of this. That's the thing I resent the most, is that shallow, empty, false face that too often shows up and tells us, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to make this, I'm going to do, and all this nonsense. Well, they get that picture, and then they disappear.
Well, because she answers to a system and we answer to people.
Well, yes.
Like someone, I remember seeing, they said that white people have politicians and we have preachers.
Yeah.
So
we do.
So we step into a situation and not understanding that we have to develop our own system. If we develop our own system, and what happens is they don't have to answer to individuals. They answer to the system.
Okay. Right.
Because the system is what creates that bubble for us. Because if we adhere to a system, they come and tell us, no. This is how we operate.
This is how we operate.
You can't talk to anybody, and they won't give you any other answer different.
Well, this is what brought up the subject of, and I've been seriously pushing for this. There's two things I'm pushing for: the community review board, not civilian, not appointed by any city official. This is a community function selected by community members, whether you pick somebody like Max Shorty to be on that board, but we need to have our community members have that review board so that this is where we bring our complaints about them to you.
Here's the thing, though, sister.
But this is how we build our case to push it further.
But we don't have a system, nonetheless.
But listen, even if we had the systems, because Inglewood, we had the system. We had the Mayor Dorn had put in place a system of the oversight committee. Right. While he was mayor, he would listen to what the oversight committee said. Yeah. And he gave them consideration. When he was no longer mayor and the police chief moved or whatever, then they had absolutely no power. Right. So that, so oversight committee is, okay, we're going to review the case, we're going to look at it, and we're going to make our recommendations. But there is no authoritative figure in the oversight committee to fire an officer or bring one up on charges or anything like that. So if I have the system that is just that oversight committee, whether it's for the police or for the sheriff and their community, but if there is no authority with it, if we don't have the authority to say that this is illegal and this person needs to be charged, or if saying, well, this is definitely out of character and it's our recommendation that you follow up and fire this person.
That's the point, is to build a case. Is to build a case against these officers. Like Reagan Come on.
Well,
we had to ask Seabrooks, how many of these officer-involved shootings was he there?
Right.
Was he there?
So behind closed doors, she fired him.
She fired
But
him.
behind closed doors.
Well, see, she
Right.
Okay,
Right.
she couldn't let him stay on the force.
Right.
And once she found out, see, because I know he was involved in at least two.
Do you know
at least two.
I can't remember the two names of the people who were killed in Inglewood. They were in the car asleep.
Yeah,
the lady,
the woman and
6
the man.
officers were fired.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors, they were fired.
Yeah.
Why not Mayor Butts? Why not Chief Mark Fontanero? Why not publicly let us know this so we can support your action, support what you guys are doing?
This is a problem I'm having with elected people. They're not being responsive to us.
No.
From Jackie Lacey to Mayor Butts. You're talking about the same thing that frustrates me, that keeps us powerless, still having to act according to that system that we're not included in. I'm looking for us to gain some kind of independence where we can take care of those things for ourselves.
Right.
That review is one of them.
We
When
have to create our own system.
Yeah.
That's
There's
well
two things I was, like you said, he fired him behind closed doors.
behind closed doors. Yeah.
If I fire somebody behind closed doors, it's not to make you happy.
Right.
It's to shut you up.
Right.
It's two different things.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, so if they're doing things that is like you're complaining, you upset, they say, well, you got to go because you're making us have to deal with them, and we don't want to deal with them.
And the other
So-
side of that, though, is those fired officers can now go and apply
Yeah,
enforcement
and-
like
Oh, yeah,
police.
but that's been
or
since
Manhattan
day one.
Beach,
Yeah,
Culver City.
That's
Yeah.
been since day one. So,
Right.
but when it comes to a system,
Torrance.
the system,
Right.
but the system itself cannot be something that they give us. It can't be something like
We
he
have
said.
to take it.
It has
We
to
have
be.
to take
it
it.
has to be a
We created
we have
ourselves.
to be created.
Yes.
Like the Black Panthers had a system. The reason why they went in to destroy the Black Panthers is because they had to answer to the system. They was like, we got our Second Amendment rights.
Right.
If
And
you
we're
if you
using
violate my rights, I'm gonna take it upon myself to protect myself.
Right.
They knew that they had to break the system, not the people. It was the
Right.
system. So once they
Right.
started breaking up the system, then they can catch the people. But as long as that system was in place, they, like Malcolm X, like when he was in front of those group of police officers, he said it's too much power for one man. But see, Malcolm X was working within the system. And they couldn't answer to Malcolm because even if they tried to get Malcolm, it was the brothers behind him that
Yeah.
was still tapped into the system.
Right.
So that's the reason why for us is it has nothing to do with them. If we understand there's a system, so within the system there's education, there's protection, there's housing, there's all those different things that make up a community makes up the system. The difference is we're trying to tap into each system they're in individually.
I don't know why.
There's an issue with the housing, so we're trying to deal with the housing. There's an issue with this, so we're trying to deal with that as individuals. So therefore, we don't realize we're bucking the same system. It's just different angles.
Well-
And it's never going to work until we come up with our own system to where they have to answer to us as a whole.
This is all I'm trying to get to, and I don't understand why I'm getting all this pushback. I just, I can't wrap my head around it. I think that Community Review Board is the best thing we could do for ourselves right here, right now. I still want answers about those 4 young people that were killed last year. Who do I go to? I can't go to the police commission. I can't take it to the grand jury. Dawood said we're entitled to a call for grand jury investigation. We can't come empty-handed. We have to have something to push them to do for us. How do we get that until we organize?
We have to hit them in the
and
pockets.
Hit them in the pocket.
Listen. The only way you got someone. See, what are we going to give them? We can't fight them physically. We can't do anything to them to even say that. Hey, let's sit at this table.
Let me back this up. Let me just back this up because we've gone in a whole different direction, completely off of what I was suggesting.
No, it's the same thing. It's just the
No,
fact.
it's not. It's not. When you say hit him in the pocket,
Right.
We don't
that
have
is so
leverage.
far removed from what I'm talking about. How are we going to hit him in the pocket? We ain't got nothing to hit him with.
Yes, we do.
What?
Yes, we do. I
asked Dawood the same thing. What we
Our
going to hit
spending
him
habits,
with, honey?
Our spending habits. We contribute like over $1 trillion in this market.
I know, baby. I see all the gear. You got on gear too?
No, I don't.
Okay, because I'm checking you.
Listen,
Okay, because
like everything I pay for. The only thing I have not done is black owned is pretty much most of either my clothing and probably gas in my
Okay.
car. Everything else is
Don't
black
take
owned.
me too seriously because I
Right.
really
Well,
am
listen,
joking with
so-
you, but I am serious
But-
about that control.
But the reason why I said that was because the thing is, they're not going to listen just because we come up with complaints. They're not going to make any adjustments just because we're upset. The thing is we have to make them come to the table because they know that we take something from their table. They have to give us something. It's quid pro quo. There's no way we can sit there and complain. We've been complaining and asking for fair treatment.
What is our leverage?
Forever.
What is our bartering tool?
We got no leverage.
We are even so. If I think this is two separate conversations,
it is.
In your conversation, we have no leverage. We still have to ask them. In your conversation, we have no leverage. Even if we stop buying and being the consumer, if I get you right, if we stop being that consumer, we still have no leverage.
And see, the point. But listen.
Right. That's the leverage.
No, the point I was trying to make with this civilian community review board. We speak to the witnesses. We speak to the family. We do the investigation as a community
and we
board.
can do that now.
And thank you. That's something we can do tomorrow if we were motivated.
His grandmother was outside. CJ's grandmother was outside and said, "What is that boy doing?" Yeah. And he ran between the house, and then she saw the shooting.
Yes.
And she said, "I know she didn't just shoot my grandson."
Yeah, and yes, he did.
And yes, he did.
Yes, he did. And we had no review about that whatsoever. As a community, we went down the police commission, shook our fists at them, cursed at them, and they arrested us. So we came back still with no leverage. This is a way for us to kind of self-help, to at least be the investigators in these cases. You know, when they killed the 4 young men last year, they closed the door.
Yeah.
We're not answering to you. Right. We're not answering any questions at all.
And anybody who continues to disrupt the meeting will be put out by law enforcement. And when people stand up to support the person being disruptive, the police commission shut the meeting down.
Shuts the meeting
we'll just
down.
close. When everybody is gone, we'll come back and won't have any outside audience.
Interference. Yeah. We'll make the decision behind closed doors.
Right.
Well,
you see?
One thing I pay attention to is rednecks.
Yeah.
Rednecks?
I love paying attention to rednecks. Rednecks, they do things in a way that they adopted through a lot of different generations. And what they do is they have a community security guard, which is called the militia. Then you turn around and then you have the school system where you have the women, and it's a structure. The way they do things, and they still do it now. The reason why we don't have a black militia in the community, and I'm not saying militia as far as just violence. It's not violence. Militia as far as is taking care of making sure the kids are safe.
The militia used to be the Panthers.
Yeah, the Panthers.
Okay.
But it was always. But even like in Oklahoma in the South, the militia was all the fathers, the men, the people
Deacons
in the church,
for
the deacons in the church. It was all the different people, all the men in the community. They all had rifles. They all had handguns or whatnot. But at the same time. And anytime there was an event, everybody was carrying. It was a rifle in the truck. And anything. And so it was always a sense of protection around the community.
Yes,
and
our men are the ones that took care of us in those days.
But the problem is these days we don't have that security because if you went to prison, you can't own a gun.
Well,
so if you went to prison, you can't even be a security guard.
Let's not jump over the fact of how many went to prison.
Yeah, it's a lot.
A bulk of the men in our community,
that's why we can't
people
do
like
it like
me would expect to protect us from outsiders, became the internal enemy.
Exactly.
Internal enemy to my sons, to the other men on the block, to the men in the other communities. The men on my block became enemies to other communities.
Do you know where it came from? I'm going to go back to what he just said. It came from an attack on the system that was created to bring us together.
We had a system.
So when the Black Panther Party created WIC, which is still in function now, Women, Infant, and Child, when they created the Head Start, because these children need a head start going to school.
Yes, they
and
did.
What is his name? President Johnson adapted that as his part of what he was doing for the community. Well, what they did is said, what's the name? Hoover from the FBI said the greatest threat to America right now is the Black Panther Party.
Black Panthers,
And that is because they wanted to separate the system and get parents like mine and my grandparents to say, oh, don't fool with them. You're going to go to jail. They're going to beat you. You don't want to deal with that. So in other words, my family and my people were telling me, do not stand up and be a part of the system that is geared for us. Be a part of the system that is against us. The same system that is has been handed to us from slavery, the same system that's been handed to us from, the white supremacy. That system, which makes the city of L.A. invest $1.3 billion into law enforcement. But we have the lowest number of homicides since 1966, but we have the highest budget for LAPD since 2014. How does the budget keep going up when the homicides are going down?
I don't want to talk about LAPD because they're their own phenomena. The city does not control them. They are independent. No, they are independent. They are highly funded. They don't have to make any excuses, and they have the Police Protective League to protect their officers. So they're already insulated. They're already funded. They don't have to go right or left, which is the way they did us about those 4 shootings last summer. They just shut their mouth, and you all can figure out what you're going to do because we're not talking. We're not meeting with you. We're not explaining any of that. So what do? We go home and shut our mouths and move on. You see? So my thing, I want to know why those 4 young men were shot. I want to know what you were following. Were you following them? Had they done something? Had they broken the law? I mean, that led you to shoot them, like Carnell Snell? He was riding around with a gun. Well, what put your eyes on him? You say that car with the funny license tag?
Right. So even that, as Jaye said, is not probable cause to pull them over. It's not probable
cause, is it?
No. It's really the fact that it's racial profiling, as it always has been.
We have to change it from civil rights to human rights.
Yes.
But because our biggest issue is every time we plead civil rights, it only goes to our Supreme Court. Then that's it. It can only go up to our Supreme Court when we file for civil rights because it's only a national issue. But when you file for human rights, it goes into the world courts. That means the whole world has to chime in to our plea.
Right now, the world is watching the guy in the White House. They're not watching black folks on Gang Talk in L.A.
But they haven't. They didn't do it when Obama was here either.
I can't even go into Obama. That's so far removed from what our immediate needs are right now.
What I'm saying is, I'm just saying the pattern. I mean, it's still consistency in how they don't pay attention. But what I'm saying is, we have to stop saying civil rights and keep it on the local level, and we have to make it something on the international level to where we plead into the other countries and other people who have some humanity to address the situation, because the crimes on us. We still haven't had every organization, every group of people, every nationality that has anything that has been done wrong by the United States have been getting reparations. We have had the longest stint outside the Native Americans, which we're part of the Native American tribes as well.
Yeah,
we're the only ones that never had anything given back to us based off of that. Now, granted, it's been a long time, and it's still a long time due. But the problem is all those people had they had a place of sovereigns that can plead their case.
You're gonna be mad at me when I say this.
So we have to.
So we have to go to the real blunt, serious question that's gonna make you mad.
No, never that.
All the time we have spent in prison, paying them for our flesh in that cot, is that a reparation?
No.
It's not a reparation for us, but we keep making money for them. That's the part I can't wrap my head around. We can't get reparations because we're too busy paying them out with our bodies.
Yeah,
we're paying the mortuaries. We're paying the coroner. We're paying the prison. We're paying the cemetery. When are we going to stop and start doing our own reparations, which means to take care of ourselves?
When we get tired,
we have to get independent of this system you keep talking about.
Once we get tired of this, I always say this, we got to love us more than we love them.
Because I'm looking for that love right now.
Our biggest issue is we spend too much time. Like, they created a river. They got the flow. They got the direction. It's winding where they wanted to go. It's going across the hills they want to go. It's avoiding all these different things the way they want to go.
Yeah, like that pipeline.
Is we jumping in that same river, trying to go the way we want to go, and getting mad because it's still going the same way they want to.
I don't understand why we jumping in that river. That's the problem I'm having with it.
Because they spent a lot of years making sure that our black men who was businessmen,
the man that used to protect the village,
and kill them. They over 75% of all the hangings in the South was black businessmen.
I'm not surprised by that.
It had nothing to do with him just being black. Being black. It had something to do with him being black, smart, and able to lift up the community.
Once again, someone who could create a system. So think about this. How many black people right now who said they're not going to watch the NFL because of the way the NFL has treated Colin Kaepernick, right? And then how many people actually are watching the NFL?
Right.
So when the subject comes up and the conversation comes up, people say, oh, that ain't our worst crime. We need other stuff and we ain't. And they blowing it off like it ain't nothing when this is a chance for unity. This man has stood up and put his career, his financial legacy on the line, his life on the line to stand up for the injustice of our people. And so many of our people are saying, oh man, it ain't got nothing to do with the NFL, man. It's this and it's that. I'm going to watch my TV.
You know what's so crazy about that? Look how quickly they forgot why he took that knee.
Oh, they didn't forget. They just ignored it.
It don't matter. Obviously, it's not important enough to them for them to be concerned about it. That's the apathetic I keep hounding on. If our apathetic would wake up, we'd be further ahead. Right. See, but the apathetic is too busy doing for themselves. They could care less what else happens. The system, it ain't bothering me. Why you letting it bother you?
Right. We did a wrong. The approach of the boycott was all wrong for the NFL. Because we should have been putting the pressure on our own men that's in the football field, and put the pressure on the guys in college to not play. Like, we don't support nothing they're doing. We don't want to see you on that field. Because the thing is,
right? If we don't address it,
because they
have to address it.
Our problem is this. When I say him in the pockets is, how much money would LA alone lose if both those two stadiums don't have not one dark-skinned person playing on that field for the whole season?
Yeah. I don't know why the Chargers are in LA anyway, so I really don't want to get that football.
It don't even matter. It's just the beautiful fact that we hold over 75-85% of all the NFL is us. But then the same age group.
But you can't get the same 75% of those players to stand behind this cause.
Because this is the thing. We don't put pressure on the players. We're trying to put pressure on the owners and on the NFL. The NFL and the owners can't control the NFL, because guess what? The person on that football field is the only ones that putting people in the seats.
But they're not going to risk a paycheck. That's the bottom line.
Because we're not developing a system to where when they see that, they understand that they say, okay, I'm answering to all of them.
They don't have no obligation.
They don't have no obligations. They're not obligated to individuals, because the thing is how many people is going to stop their job because somebody got killed from their company or whatever situation is. They said, we boycotting their company. They said they boycotting Walmart. How many black people still working at Walmart? You see what I'm saying? So it's bigger than just the community steps or whatnot. We have to understand that we have to step out of their system, create our own, and regardless if they move left, regardless how bad it gets, regardless what it is, we have to do it ourselves.
I agree with you. My only question is, what's the priority, and what are we going to do to implement that self-help? What's the priority?
The priority is
stop. Let me finish this. We gonna stop the cops from killing us, or we gonna stop us from killing us? What's the priority in our scenario? See, because that economic boycott, I agree with it. I ain't buying no labels, but I'm not. I'm just me.
So go back to that article that was just written. We've stopped killing ourselves.
Yes.
The numbers are lower than they've been since 1966.
Yes, and that should be front page, and especially 77th.
Right.
77th.
So just imagine this. The numbers are consistently going lower.
Down.
There are people doing work where I know every Saturday there's a softball game in Torrance with guys who shouldn't be in Torrance. There's softball games over here with guys who normally don't be at that park together. So things are happening where the message is getting out.
Yes.
And I believe they said it was 59 homicides during the summer, which normally is 75 and 85. So now what's going to happen is probably next year, instead of 59, it might be 49 and 39. But here's the thing. As this happens, and LAPD gets credit, and this continues, we still don't have a system. No. We'll be building relationships, and the relationships will be there, But we still don't have that system to be supportive of each other. We're still going to have kids that are out here ready to go to the NFL. We're going to have people who are ready to go work at the post office and buy the different clothing. That we are part of their system. And until we create our own system.
How can we?
I think it's not. See, here's the first thing we could do. When he said hit him in the pocket, let me tell you where we hit him in the pocket at.
Okay.
Where we hit him in the pocket at is we go to this black-owned bank. There's like 2 or 3 of them out here in L.A.
Right.
And we go to these black-owned banks and we put all our money in these black-owned banks.
Right.
And we say that we are putting this on you. We go to these churches, the mega churches, and we say, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to tell you right now that you're going to support the community. You too are going to go to this black-owned bank, and you're going to create stuff for us. I love the term people of color, but right now, no, we're talking about black people. I'm not talking about all people of color, and I have nothing against anyone or whatever from whatever position they come from in the culture, but we have to do something because we're now 12% of the population throughout the United States. Yes. So if we do not take care of our own, and like he said, but we're 85% of the NFL and 75% of NBA. And quiet is kept probably about 45 or 50% of the MLB, the Baseball League. Major League Baseball, because a lot of them come from Honduras, a lot of them come from Puerto Rico. They are black people.
Yeah,
I don't care if they speak Spanish; they black.
They black. When they get to this
Dominican
country,
Republic, and they black.
If they can get to this country, they will be black. It doesn't matter where you come from.
The things when he say how we build a system, the first things first is it's all military tactics. Everything is military. It's knowing how to move, how to settle down, how to build. And the first thing you have to do is you have to secure your natural resources. That's the first things first. When you want to build an organization, you want to build anything, you got to have natural resources no matter what you do. And that's food, water, clothing, and shelter. And then security. That's your natural resources. And the thing is for one, we have to spend money. First of all, we spend so much money on the outside, on our everyday lives, that we don't even know how to even save money because everything is going out. So when I say natural resource, I'm talking about we got to know how to farm, even in the cities, urban farming. We got to know how to keep our water clean for our purity because our bodies is the first resource.
Right now we're buying bottled water out of Food for Less.
But let me tell you something. Bottled water is
you can't even drink toxic. The tap water in L.A. anymore.
No. Bottled water is more toxic than the water coming out your tap. There's less regulations on bottled water than it is on tap water, and it's easy for them to just put a little taste thing to make it taste better and don't do anything to it. Then it's cheaper and without regulations. So when I say building a system, we have to build the education. We have to build our natural resources. We got to create allies, not in the United States, but we have to create allies on the world platform. And it's not hard to do because we have a country that everybody eats it from, and we the only ones in this whole entire world does not go to that continent and work with them, and that's Africa. We feel like we don't have a connection with them. We don't feel like there's nothing for us. They going through it, but everybody eats off them. Like if you have an iPhone. There's a metal in that iPhone that would not work at all properly without a certain metal that comes from the Congo.
I don't have an iPhone because I'm not an Apple fan.
Well, I'm just giving an example.
No,
but there's other things in your phone.
Apple is a part of that system that keeps taking money out of our pockets. But no, Apple is that particular toy that people stress their dollars to get. Come on.
Yeah, it is.
It ain't a Metro PC phone.
It is.
Okay,
but the thing is
people want the iPhone. It's a status thing.
Yeah,
it's nothing wrong
status.
with
but I
Metro.
was speaking of Apple as just as an example. So the thing
is, they're an example of the system that we buy into.
But what I'm saying is the fact that everybody's tapping into the system of resources of Africa. Everybody's tapping the resources of doing for self. We're the only ones that's looking at everybody else and say, hey, we need help. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, why don't you do this? Where's my answer?
We need to help ourselves.
We need to help ourselves.
This is the problem we haven't accepted. There's no superhero coming to our rescue. No. I'm looking at the superhero.
Right.
I'm sitting with the superhero.
Right.
I'm working with the superheroes right here in our arena. I don't have to step outside the community to find the people we need right here. Right here. So this is the place we need to be working together to build that away from that system that we keep complaining about. My question is, How do we unify? What do we unify about? Are we going to unify just behind police killing us? Are we ever going to unify behind us killing ourselves? What are we going to unify? What's our priority enough to get the apathetic to get involved?
We have to see the quality within us.
I see the quality.
You see it, but what I'm saying, I'm not talking about as an individual. I'm talking about as a whole. We have to see the quality within us. And what happened is, throughout the years, they have disconnected us from knowledge of self, disconnected us from knowledge of just how to do things, and to do it yourself. So when you get that last generation of knowing how to do a lot of things themselves, were the baby boomers. That's pretty much the last generation that really knew how, understood it, because they was the children and grandchildren of the ones who could get it done.
Yeah.
So now when you have everyone that has been cut off from that knowledge, and then they swear that we dumb, they say that we ignorant, these different things, we got the low education, we got all these different things. Our problem is we keep on looking for them to do it, but they... Like, look at YouTube. I can go on YouTube right now, and I can guarantee you.
We've been doped up and dumbed down. Doped up and dumbed down and sold a label, as that label identifies who you are inside and out. That's true. We bought into that. We allowed them to change our image. We allowed them to give us drugs to kill ourselves. And we allowed them to bring the guns in so we'd have the weapons to do the killing. So we allowed all these things to happen to ourselves. Now we're facing the exit. We're at the exit. Where's an organization that wants to see us?
They set up. They messed up. This is one thing
Who's
about
they?
The powers to be and the people and the I'll say the other skin folk.
Okay.
They messed up because what they done was because we're the original culture.
Yes.
It's in us.
Yeah.
Music was healing and food has always been healing. We never understood because we don't understand it. Our old ancestors understood what music and food did to our bodies and why it raised our higher learning. But the thing is we still have it in us. They learned it. See, they taught themselves the music. Yeah. They taught themselves the reasons why it's important. But they took it away from us to learn it. But yet we still have it naturally. Well, so the problem is they too busy learning it and they understand it. But it's not natural. So for us, we have to go back to what is learned and how to learn it and understand it. Because this comes from us. So when we have to take...
what is natural. Go back to what is natural, for us. Because we don't have to learn music. We don't have to learn beat, how to get on beat. Man, when the finger starts snapping, we got it, right? Yeah. But they got to learn beat. They like Carlton from the Fresh Prince.
But these are our natural gifts.
But there are things that are natural to them as well, the other skin people, as you say. And one of the things that is natural to them is immediately to take over. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not be loving, not be given, but to be a taker and to dominate. That is natural to them.
But see, we have to learn what they, like I said.
So we're more spiritual people, and we've learned spiritually, and even they've taught us their spirituality. Where you just said something about the ancestors, we were taught not to go back to the ancestors. We're taught to believe in this person they have, Caesar, what's his name, that's in the church, this white guy or whatever. So I agree with you. But the one thing that I believe we have to do is to be able to re-educate ourselves. Exactly. Because what happens right now is that I'm going to say as black people, and I'm only going to speak for my family and my household, what I was taught is that I do not trust you. If I want my car worked on, I'm going to go to Mr. Lee, who's on Venice and Pico. Let Mr. Lee fix your car. He know what he's doing. Stop going to your friends. Stop going to Roy and them over on 105th and Broadway. Right. You know, so that's what I was taught, that if I want something done right, I go to another culture to get it done right because I'm not supposed to trust my own people. That right there has to stop.
That breaks my heart because right now, women like me would put a young black man that took care of my car, he could be living in France if he wanted to, because his women would pay him to take care of our ride. He could just get money from black women all day long, 7 days a week, as much as he can pocket. You see, because he's missing, and now I have to go to somebody else. He's not, my brother ain't there to take care of my car for me anymore. So I'm left to go to people I can't trust.
Because we have to use, because it's like in Ethiopia, they had that war like in the 60s or 70s.
You better bring it back to this country because we only got about a minute left.
So what they did was, but they fought when they was fighting. I think it was the French or the English or whoever it was. What they did was they didn't have enough weapons, so they started using after they killed some people and the weapons that was dropped, they started using their weapons against them.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do.
That makes sense.
We have to stop trying to create something and use what's already been created and build up on that rock.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We have YouTube. We have all these different things. I can teach you how to build a fire on this table right now. Right. But yet the problem
Let's raise a blunt for the homies that ain't gonna
Right.
see that.
And can I have that bottle, sister? Can I raise this bottle up as we clear up? And can I ask? There it is, right there. She got my song on. Can y'all hear that? What is that song right there? You never heard that song, sister? That's Gil Scott-Heron. Yeah. It's old man's in the bottle. Yes, indeed. This is the bottle right here. This is what we run to, y'all. As black people, this is what we run to. We run to have a bottle. We run to a blunt instead of dealing with our unresolved issues and trauma that we've gone through. We've been humiliated as a culture, as a race of people through slavery, through police brutality, through Jim Crow, through all the stuff that has happened. So what do? Where do we see our fathers and uncles? We see them running to the bottle.
Running to the bottle.
And it's a crime, just like you said.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you. Thank you, Skip, for that. Thank you, Khaleesi. I'm so glad you came, honey. God bless your community family. Thank you, Poetess. Thank you for listening. And, don't forget the ones that have already passed this way that aren't coming back. Think about them as you're thinking about harming somebody else. And just remember, we deserve more than that. So God bless you. And Gang Talk will be back next week.
And if you're having a drink, pour some out for the homies.
Yeah, pour some out. Spill some wine for the homies.
Pour a little bit out for the homies.
Yeah, next time you raise this, think about the homies too.
Right.
All right.